All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on the high stakes, ridiculously fast paced world of digital defense. We're going inside the Cyber Command Center, the place where the real digital battles of our time are actually fought. And so often, it all comes down to a single question. So just picture this for a second. Somewhere deep in your company's network, a silent intruder has just slipped past the gates. The clock is now ticking. You've got about 1 hour to respond before things spiral out of control. So, what really happens in that first critical 60 minutes? Well, it all kicks off with a single alert. It's this tiny, almost invisible blip in a massive sea of data that signals something is very, very wrong. This is that exact moment a potential problem becomes a full-blown, code-red incident. And just like that, it is all hands on deck. Automated alarms are going off everywhere, dashboards are flashing bright red, and a team of digital first responders is scrambling into action. The clock isn't just ticking anymore. It feels like it's speeding up. So, who are these first responders? And where in the world do they operate from? Let's step inside the nerve center of all cyber defense. This is the Security Operations Center, or what everyone just calls the SOC. The best way to think of it is like a digital emergency room. It's this one central hub where a dedicated team uses some seriously specialized tech and super clear processes to detect, analyze, and respond to cyber threats 24/7. But not all SOCs are created equal. Organizations really have a big choice to make here. They can build their own internal SOC, which gives them total control, but man, is it expensive. Or they can outsource everything to a managed service, which gives them access to experts without the high cost, but it means giving up some of that direct control. And then there's the hybrid model, which tries to get the best of both worlds, mixing your own team with outside help. Each one is a balancing act between cost, control, and complexity. Okay, so the alarms are blaring. How does the team actually fight back? You see, in a crisis, chaos is your biggest enemy. And the only weapon that really works against it is a predefined, battle-tested plan of action. There's a reason you hear this saying in every high-stakes job imaginable. In cybersecurity, that training is all written down in an incident response plan, which most people just call it playbook. It's basically a step-by-step guide that makes sure every single action is deliberate, it's effective, and it's repeatable, even when the pressure is absolutely crushing. And that playbook? It's built on a really clear 5-phase structure. First up is detection and analysis. You got to confirm there's a real threat and figure out how bad it is. Next is containment. This is crucial. You isolate the infected systems to stop the attack from spreading. It's literally like stopping the bleeding. Then you move to eradication, which is just what it sounds like, getting the attacker completely out of the network. After that, it's recovery, safely bringing all your systems back online. And finally, and you could argue this is the most important step for the future, is lessons learned. You break down the entire incident to make sure this exact thing can never, ever happen again. Now, to actually run that playbook, the SOC team needs a pretty powerful arsenal of digital tools. These are the instruments they use to see things that are normally invisible and to fight back against attackers in real time. So, your first line of defense is a set of automated watchdogs that are always on. You've got the SIEM, which is like the central alarm panel for the whole organization, pulling in security logs from absolutely everywhere. Then there's the IDS/IPS, which is basically a digital tripwire at the edge of your network, watching every piece of data that comes in or goes out. And finally, you have EDR, which is like having a dedicated security guard on every single computer and server. But here's the thing. Just sitting around waiting for alarms to go off, that's not enough. The most sophisticated attackers are quiet, they're stealthy. And that's why the best security teams don't just play defense. They go on the offense with something called threat hunting, proactively searching for threats that might have already slipped past all those automated defenses. And for that hunt, they use a completely different set of tools. They use their CM platforms not just to wait for alerts, but to actively search for subtle, weird-looking patterns in the data. They use network analysis tools like Wireshark to crack open and inspect raw traffic. They can even dive deep into a computer's memory with endpoint analysis tools. And they're constantly checking everything against threat intelligence feeds, which are kind of like global databases of known cybercriminals and the tactics they use. Okay, so the team has a plan, and they have the tools. But how do they know if they're actually any good at this? How do they know if they're winning? Well, the answer is in the data and in a constant drive to get better.
This is probably the most important question for anyone running a SOC. I mean, you can't improve what you don't measure, right? In cybersecurity, speed is everything. And luckily, there are some very specific metrics designed to track it.
So the very first clock starts ticking the moment an attack actually begins. This metric, mean time to detect, or MTTD, measures how long it takes from that initial breach until the SOC team even knows something is wrong. Because the longer an attacker is in your network undetected, the more damage they can do.
And that's exactly why we started with that first hour. The industry gold standard is to detect an attack in under 60 minutes. Why? Because after that point, an attacker has often dug in deep, making them way, way harder to kick out. The faster you know, the better your odds.
Now, as soon as that first alarm goes off, a whole new clock starts. This one is called mean time to respond, or MTTR. It measures how quickly the team can go from just being aware of the problem to actually taking action and starting to contain the threat. A pretty common goal for this one is under 4 hours. This metric is really the ultimate test of that incident response playbook we talked about. It shows you how efficiently the team can actually follow the plan when the pressure is on.
At the end of the day, these numbers tell a story. Every single incident, every lessons learned meeting, every training drill, it's all an opportunity to make the playbooks better, to fine-tune the tools, and to shrink both MTTD and MTTR. The goal is always the same: get faster, get smarter, and make the attacker's job that much harder.
Which kind of brings us to a final thought. The Security Operations Center is this amazing combination of planning, technology, and brilliant people, all working together to execute a defensive strategy. But you have to remember, on the other side of that screen is a real human adversary who also has a plan. This isn't just a technical problem. It's a constant, evolving chess match where the next move is always right around the corner.